All right, SKFLers, welcome to the first edition, the first ever edition of the Rockford Report. You can see I'm joined by the illustrious AJ. AJ, welcome to the show.
Rob's on a budget this year, so he brought in the best he could afford.
AJ is getting paid what he deserves for this report, but we've kind of been bantering about doing something kind of like this, and he volunteered to be my first guest. I'm happy to have him on here. He's got a wealth of football knowledge, and at the end of today, after we kind of break down the league, talk about what we're seeing, we'll have our best bets of the week. Take them with a grain of salt, of course, but we'll try to steer you in the right direction. So first off, AJ, again, thanks for joining us all the way from Kent, Washington.
Oh, my pleasure.
As I put up here, just tell me your first initial thoughts about Swan Song Squad. Is he an homage to Gisty? Obviously, you've got some good young talent. Tell us what you think about your team.
Quarterback I thought was going to be my strength going into the year, Rob, but outside of Burrow, I haven't got much. Haskins is at least feeding Scary Terry, so that's good for me. Cousins has been a disaster. He might be at the Turkey Bowl this year playing against you. Fournette looked good. I'm hoping I can get some value out of Fournette now. Gurley, yeah, he'll be a solid starter, but other than that, Carson, Kelly, and Swift look like stars. Receiver, normally my strong suit. Kind of regretting that DJ Moore trade and not keeping Ridley right now, but and then tight end, I got Fant from Musa. I think it's Musa. I can never tell them apart, but Fant's going to give me some points, especially with the backup. The backup quarterback's not going to throw down the field. He's going to check down to the tight end. And Buffalo, they're not the 2019 Patriots. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it is early, and I do like Fant, although, there was some hubbub about the Brady trade. Could you or should you have got a quarterback back? Any comment on that? Do you think you got equal value for Brady?
I went upside. Brady is who Brady is at this point. You know what I mean? He's 47 years old. He's about the same age as Casey. Like, he's not putting up 50s anymore, Rob. Like, he'll get you, I actually got a text from an owner last week. I won't say who, but they said I traded the God for Fant. Well, Fant outscored the God, last week. Brady started off hot. Yeah. I think it was 19 to 21 or 21, 22, something, but
the fact checkers will be on it. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will. But Brady's not going to put up 400 yards anymore. 400 for 4 TDs, like that's not who he is. You can give him any weapons in the world, but he can't throw the ball over 40 yards. So it is what it is.
I don't disagree. I had Brady and the Bucs as my number one disappointment here in 2020. If you hear some weird noises, it's the puppies here trying to get involved in the podcast. So I am not as anti that trade as maybe some others were, but you know what? The great thing about these trades is time will tell. You got the younger guy. I know you like Fant, and he's putting up numbers early.
I'm not going to disclose the exact players, but let's just say there was another player offered before Fant at a different position, but I felt I was strong at that position, so I kind of I slept, and then on the trade, because Brady, I wasn't sure. I should have pulled the trigger before game one. Honestly, looking back on it, because the anticipation was there. So there's a little regret there. However, I think when it's all said and done, the way my team's set up, and I think Fant will outscore Brady when it's all said and done.
Well, good background on that trade. We always like to hear the details behind some of these trades when they happen, and a little good insight there. Now, as a league as a whole, it's been relatively even. I know Kenny has had some bad breaks and not a great start, but you look from bottom to top right now, not a lot separates Yusuf's team, basically, which will kind of make us the bottom because I think Kenny's going to have a rough year, from the teams that are at the top right now. Casey's 515 points. A lot of parity this year. Your early thoughts on what you've seen in the SKFL so far?
I would agree. Although Casey, did have a guy score a 0 this week. I don't know. I was going to say it's the first time ever a skill player played more than in half and got a 0. But then I looked at Blake's team, and I saw Blake had a guy play the whole game and get a 0. So it's a little troubling. But yeah, I would agree. A lot of strong teams. I mean, that's how it normally is outside of Ian's team. I mean, Ian gets 3 guys that score 200 points a week, so it's kind of hard to compete with that. But Yeah, Kenny's in bad shape.
Agreed. And kind of piggybacking on that Ian thought, if you had to pick one team that could possibly dethrone Ian this year, who would be your odds-on bet?
I like use of skills players. I don't love his quarterbacks. November, December football is a lot different than September, October.
That it is.
Randy with Cam, Deshaun, he can go Alvin. He can pick up a good game from Chris Thompson maybe late in the year. Cam Akers if he turns it on. But with Tyreek, Alvin, Deshaun, that's three guys that can get whammies. CD seems to be really balling. Chris Herndon, I don't know. Randy always seems to have a good team on paper, but never seems to really win. Wade, I just don't think Daniel Jones. But let's save all that for the rankings. But right now, I would probably say Randy.
Okay. All right. I don't disagree. I think I have Randy very near the top, and you've got a sneak peek of the rankings, and we'll definitely have some good talking points as we go through here. But right now, we're going to start with number 11. Of course, I leave myself out of these rankings. Maybe I'll throw them back in since we have a host that can kind of banter and talk about my team. But first, we'll talk about the dark side. It's been a rough start. It started with the draft. I really liked the Minshew keeper. I thought, man, Kenny's going to have a year, and then Gronk at 2. I don't think I would have taken them before 12. And then the Saquon injury is just devastating. And that you couple that with his Social Security wide receivers. I mean, we got a mash unit. These guys can get AARP cards at this point with AJ Green, Edelman, and Fitzgerald. The only bright spot right now is Minshew. I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. It's a good trade chip. Minshew seems to be on a team that's going to put up a lot of points, throw it a lot. He could use that in some form or fashion. But what are your thoughts on Kenny's team here right off the bat?
It's bad, Rob. I don't know what's going on out in Puyallup with the water, but something really went wrong for Kenny this year. I mean, Gardner might have some value if he played. Seems to be a bench guy for Jeff right now. I'm not sure why. Running back, looking at that. I mean, Peterson had the big week 1, but it looks like he's being phased out already. A bunch of backups. I mean, if Connor didn't hit that 70-yard run last week, that's a disappointment. Yeah, receivers are bad. I don't know, Rob. I don't know. Not a lot to talk about with Jeff's team, but it's surprising too because Kenny's normally a solid drafter. He's a guy that he gets the blue collar guys, but this year it looks like he kind of missed on that.
Yeah, he's been a consistently very solid owner. Just a tough draft, and sometimes you just can't recover from those. But we'll see what kind of moves he can make to kind of put himself in position for next year potentially.
Honestly though, real quick about Kenny's team, who would he even trade? I mean, maybe Edelman has value, but
one certain owner has been very vocal about being interested in Saquon. I won't mention his name, but
nor should we.
All right, we'll move on here to my number 10 team in the ranking right now. This is probably going to change, but makes me happy. Right now, he's got the second worst point total in the league through 2 weeks. Beckham, he has had one play all year. His QB play, he's got a lot of them, but it's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, but no salad. He's got the Bears D. Where have they been so far from a point standpoint? Although I do like his running backs. Your thoughts?
Yusuf always, since I've been in the league, has had 2 to 3 great running backs. I think he kind of maybe reached on JK, but Elliott and Henry, Odell. I mean, Odell, you understand what he did there. Kirk's been a disappointment. I mean, Kelsey and Smith will carry him, and then he doesn't have a lot at quarterback, but he could definitely surprise a team or two late.
I'm never going to count a happy team out, and I'm certainly not counting them out at this point. I mean, everything is so close, so compact, especially with those running backs. I have him at 10 now. If I said, what do I think is going to be in 8 weeks, he's probably in the top 6. But that's kind of where we're at right now in terms of what we've seen. Now, number 9, Blake Isbell's Russell Mania has had excellent production from Russ, but has had the injury bug come in early with Bell and Sutton. Not a good way to start the year. The Bell pick, everybody avoided him like the plague, yet Blake jumped right in. Kaboom. Your thoughts on Blake's team?
Yeah, I mean, outside of Russell, Herbert looked good, but the whole Tyrod thing. I mean, but I just saw that Tyrod may have a hole in his lung, so maybe Herbert gets a little bit more playing time than we expected. But the Adams injury hurts, Rob. If he doesn't get Adams back soon, I mean, where's he going to get his points from, right? Like Ingram.
I have not seen a prognosis on Adams. What's the prognosis there? I'm asking as a friend of Lazard.
I actually have not seen anything concrete, but hamstring injuries are never a good thing to have. I know that. Mm-hmm. Philip Lindsay, what a miss there.
It's just not looking promising. Although, Russ, like he can with the Hawks, he can carry him weeks. Russ can give you the 50 to 60. They'll get you in every week.
Well, I mean, Russ can get him to 60. Adams has proven he'll get you a 60. Patriots D could always throw up, a 40. But I mean, running backs, Rob, like what is he going to do?
Waiver wire, baby. Waiver wire.
Yeah, I hope so. Good luck, Blake.
Number 8. Your team. I have you at number 8, AJ, right now.
Of course you do. Of course.
We talked about Brady. Maybe he had a great kind of understand or discussion points on that. Right now, you don't have a lot of guys scoring big points for you. You don't have a lot. You don't have same thing with my team. I don't have anybody I feel like can put up a 40 right now with Michael Thomas out. You've got, although Ruggs, once he gets healthy, I think could be a guy that can do that somewhat consistently. Looks like Carr can throw the ball this year. You've got a great upside team, a lot of youth, and you're very deep at each position. So I would call your team very nimble right now. You can make a lot of moves without having to worry about depth. And you've talked a little bit about your team, but moving forward, I mean, do you see yourself looking to make some deals to maybe shore up some areas, or are you going to kind of ride this youth out and see what it looks like? And as you talked about November, December.
Right now, I feel content. I think Ruggs is a whammy waiting to happen. DK, a whammy waiting to happen. Terry, Justin Jefferson. I kind of married Kirk Cousins to him, and I probably shouldn't have did that. I mean, I don't think Kirk Cousins has went over 100 yards in a first half yet this year.
You think he's toast or just a rough start?
I think it's a rough start. I mean, they got a new offensive coordinator. Like, he's a vet. I mean, I don't think he's going to ever, do what Russ is doing right now, but Cousins is normally a guy that'll get you 25 to 30 a week, and that's kind of what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
But Tennessee at home this week is not going to help. So we'll continue with the youth train until then. But let's talk about Joshua Kelly, Rob. I mean,
he's been good. I kind of liked him at UCLA. I didn't think he was used enough there last year. But your thoughts on Josh? He looks like he's going to be the bell cow there at San Diego.
Well, I mean, you're getting 25 touches a game. I mean, you got to love that from a rookie. And Swift, I reached on Swift. I think he will have a hot November, December. So
I don't disagree with that. I mean, those running backs, those rookies in general, it takes them a little bit just to kind of get the flow of things. Let's talk about number 7, the Rat Fuck Bastards. One of the most interesting. I don't know if it's the best name Wade has ever had or the worst. I've never been a big fan of Wade's names ever since he went away from Motown Magic. That might have been before your time, AJ. I don't recall. But, he's got Jacobs and Allen, who have just been absolutely studs. They might be able to carry him to the playoffs. He needs Galladay back. He needs Mixon to pop if he's going to be a contender this year. Your thoughts on a lovable Wade Isbell's team?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about Brady earlier, so I think the Godwin thing, he's going to have to make a lot of plays for him. I mean, having 2 Detroit receivers and arguably maybe not even the best Detroit receiver is never a good thing for this league. Although I mean, looking at it real quick, outside of Jacobs, no running backs, right? Like, he's hurt, but he does have some guys that could, definitely provide a little spark late in the year. Daniel Jones, I don't know. Is he done, Rob? Do we give up on Daniel already, or do you think he's going to have some hope?
I think if you're 0-2 and you got Lawrence potentially as the first pick, you got to make a decision here fairly soon.
Yeah, I mean, he had some big games.
Or Fields, I mean, any one of those 2 guys could be intriguing there in New York next year.
He had some big games early last year. I remember when Musa first started Jones, there was a little excitement, but that fizzled fast, and especially losing Barkley. I just don't think that Wade has enough at the quarterback position to really do anything.
Did I hear you say you do not think Galladay is the best receiver in Detroit?
Correct.
Elaborate. I'm curious.
Oh, you'll see. Quantez Cephas. You might remember him from last year in the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl, the Oregon Ducks won.
Yeah.
But you know, it's been a while since you heard those words. Yeah, I don't know. Galladay is big play, but I think there might be a new guy in the room, Rob.
All right, well, time will tell. Let's go to the top 6, the teams that right now I think are playoff teams. First, we're going to start with Fist Care. Another kind of interesting name from a visual standpoint. He's got Rodgers, he's got Diggs, he's got Hopkins. They've come out hot. They look good. He's got a deep team with the exception of running back. Carlos has been plugged in. He's been lights out so far in fantasy. Your thoughts on our Pinella rival, Carlos?
I mean, first and foremost, I will never say anything good about this owner. Yeah, Rodgers, he hit on Rodgers. I think Rodgers kind of slid. I think he struggled late last year, and I think people kind of were turned off by that. When your second best running back, or points-wise, your first best running back is a backup, that's, not always a strong sign, but so far it's worked for Los. Yeah, receivers, yeah, I mean, he has studs. Hopkins, Diggs, Davis, Brown, like, he's deep. Cook cost him the game last week, but you expect a little bit more value there. The Kansas City Chiefs defense, like, what the hell is Carlos doing with that one? But, I mean, those receivers, it's tough to beat those three with Diggs, Davis, and Hopkins, so.
No, and when you get to stream these, it's all hands on deck. He probably thought, hey, we've got San Diego, we'll give it a shot. Number 5 right now, and an odd spot for the Revival to be. I've got him at number 5 right now. Probably a bit of an upset here, but with CMC hurt for a bit, it's just 2 guys. He's got 2 guys and a bunch of stuff that you could pick up on the waiver wire tomorrow. Again, but those 2 guys will probably carry him for about 120 a week, 100 to 120 a week, and then he can find a way to get another 80 points. Is Ian in trouble this year?
Rob, I hate to say it, but yeah. I mean, he always has a chance with Lamar and Pat, right? Like, any given week, he could get 140 out of those 2 guys. But looking at his roster, like, where does he get the other 70 to 80 points? Like, he has two of the backups for San Francisco at running backs. Like, I don't know if that's always a smart idea. Receivers, Julio and Deontay, they can put up big points, but KJ Hamler, I mean, I think we're kind of reaching there, Ian.
Julio Jones, he's shot. He has been looked slow this year.
No, Julio.
You don't think so?
No, Julio's there. DJ Moore, I traded him because I didn't love the Teddy match, the pairing right there, but I don't know. I don't know what Ian does late. Especially without McCaffrey. With McCaffrey, it's a completely different team.
Completely different team. It gives you 4 guys that can get you 50, or 3 guys that can get you 50 every week. All right, so for my 4th through 1, I kind of copped out because I put them all in the same bowl because they've been so close, and then AJ's going to have some good comments on this because I have 2 taggers in this group. But right now I've got, as a tie for first, I've got IAC, who leads us in points, although he is 0-2. Randy's team, I don't know what to name them, J-Tags, and then, of course, Moose's team. Now, Casey's team will start with him. Kyler, great pickup. Looks like an MVP candidate, one of the studs, 50-a-week kind of guy. Aaron Jones, he's back for more. Mostert, although he's banged up now, but he's got 2 whammies in 2 games. He's got really good depth. And are we waiting for the Baker Mayfield breakout? Because Baker becomes a thing, or he's giving you at least 30 to 40 each week. He becomes a very tough out down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I don't know. When I first saw these, I thought you were just trolling me, but obviously this is serious to you. Like, let's deep dive. I mean, Mostert had 1 carry for 81 yards. He had 7 for 11 after that. I mean, he has guys that can make big plays, right? Like, Jones had a whammy that got him big points. Mozart. But these guys, I mean, like I said, November, December, Casey has nobody, Rob. Like,
We're
we
not
need
talking
to
about
have an
November,
on
December. We're
the
talking about
SK.
right now, the power rankings.
But I mean, the SKFL needs to have a serious conversation, Rob. Casey is the most overrated owner probably in the history of life. The guy's living
The
off
man
what
won
he
5
did
in a row.
in 2009. Like, what has he done since? Like, give it. He has to. You guys have to give it up. I mean, this team is bad. When Baker Mayfield is your second quarterback, I mean,
Well, you know what? You can call him bad. You can also call him first in points through 2 weeks. Let's go to Randy.
I'll call him 0-2. Let's move on to Randy.
Randy, right now, we talked about Randy as a potential.
Real quick, Rob, real quick. Yeah. Carlos has more wins than Casey at this point.
That is a fact. That is a fact. Can't deny the facts. Right now, Randy, though, also, we talked about him at length, so we don't spend a lot of time here. I think he needs to make a deal just because he is a little bit dependent on heavy hitters. One guy goes down, he doesn't have the depth, he won't be able to absorb it. I don't know what that deal would be, but I think he's one deal away from potentially being the best team in this league right now. The QB play is good. Kamara and Hill, as we talked about, you mentioned at the top. Depth is a concern. So bye week stuff, he's very vulnerable to getting beat. That's where I see as the concern with Randy. He could probably make that up on the waiver wire, but just another quick thought on Randy before we move over to Jeffrey.
I'm a little puzzled by his 2 kickers. But with that being said, yeah, I mean, I talked about Randy earlier. Anytime you have
kickers, I didn't see that.
Yeah, anytime you have Watson, you're always almost at 60. Cam is tough. Alvin's tough. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, his depth is at running back is weak. Receivers weak. I mean, he has 4. Would you say Randy has the 4 best starting receivers so far? He doesn't have depth behind them.
I'd probably have to take a look.
Robbie Anderson, Brandon Cooks, Tyreek Hill, and CeeDee Lamb.
I like CeeDee. I think Robbie's going to be up and down. Just he's kind of a one-hit wonder with the deep stuff. But Teddy's been good enough to make him fantasy relevant. So I think that's definitely a possibility. Let me make a quick adjustment here. Now let's take a look at Jeff's team. Jeff's kind of the Cinderella here. Jeff's never won a title. He's in that tough division. He generally has a pretty competitive team, but just a little bit falls short, just a little bit. He's got Matt Ryan, which I'm going to give the 2020 Stafford Award for best garbage time player in the SKFL. So Ryan's going to get you a cool 30 to 60 every week. The Colts D has been pretty relevant for him so far, been very competitive, and really love the Ridley pick. In the 3rd round of this year's draft, I was choosing between Lockett and Ridley. My heart said Lockett. My mind said Ridley. I took Lockett. I don't really regret it, but Ridley has definitely become the better player this year, especially with Julio, whether he's being doubled or maybe he's not as good as he used to be, which is what I think it is. Your thoughts on Jeffrey's team?
If you weren't in love with Jeff, I don't think we'd be talking about Jeff this high, but
the points are there, man. He's top 4.
The first name I saw was Jeff Driscoll, and I wanted to throw up, Rob. But I mean, yeah, when you got Goff, Ryan, Cook, I didn't love the Eckler move. I don't remember who else he had on his roster, but I mean, he's you should have seen that come in, but he gets touches. Yeah, Ridley was a steal. I wanted him back, so fuck you, Jeff. But yeah,
Shots fired.
Jeff definitely, in my opinion, kind of reached for Ridley, but it was definitely a smart move. Juju, I think Juju's going to pick it up late. But yeah, I don't love Jeff's team, Rob. Maybe it's just I'm not in love with Jeff as you are, but I just don't see what you see when I look at this roster.
What I see is he's got Atlanta's #1 receiver and a team that's going to chuck it the whole year. Juju will pick it up. And he's got quarterbacks who are just going to put up points. Do I think he can win the title with this roster? Probably not. He would either need to have something happen within the division that helps him or maybe make a move, a waiver wire pickup. But he's going to be in the hunt. I think he's a playoff team, and I think he'll be fighting well in December. Lastly, we've got Moose's team. Very solid team across the board. Really good QB depth. He's not going to keep all 4 all year, so if a QB goes down, he'll be able to fill a hole with that probably. I think he needs a wide receiver to break out to contend. He's just got a lot of kind of mush mash there. But with Waller and Chubb, who are the best offensive players on those 2 teams, in my opinion, I think he can go a long way there. Your thoughts on Moose's team?
Yeah, I mean, Waller was a great pick for him. Thielen is the only guy that Kirk throws to right now. I don't love Evans on this with Brady. Cooper, I don't know. I think CD's kind of emerging as, I mean, will CD be the number one guy by the end of the year, possibly? And then I don't know. I don't think Dak keeps this up all year. Fitzpatrick probably doesn't start all year. Darnold is trash. I don't know, Rob. I don't.
And this is why we said at the top, it's anybody's ball game this year. None of these teams really look, unless Ian gets back to healthy, it's like, holy shit, we're scared of these guys. I mean, every team has some vulnerabilities at this point here.
Yeah, outside of Ian, I mean, I'm more scared of Jackson and Mahomes in 1 week than I would be anyone on Moose's roster. His whole roster, honestly. I mean, yeah, it's bad. I don't know, Rob. You have some bad top four. Put Fiskara back in the top four.
Hey, listen, it was considered. Maybe Los will be there next week. We'll see how everything goes. Now, before we go on here, AJ and I are both avid sports bettors. We win some, we lose some. I had a great weekend last weekend. AJ had a really good weekend up until a certain point. He had so I value his opinion. So I asked us to put our best picks of the week up here, and here they are. I got a 3-team tease that I'm going to do this week. I'm going to do the Falcons, the Texans, and the Buccaneers. I like the Texans to play pretty competitively this week at Pittsburgh. They're 0-2. They're hungry. They don't want to go 0-3. And frankly, Pittsburgh hasn't played anybody who's good yet. So I'm not buying that 2-0 for 2 seconds. The Falcons, similarly, I think they're just better than the Bears. So if we can get 3 points, we'll take it. And then the Buccaneers on the road against the backup. Tom Brady's not going to lose to Jeff Driscoll. So I'm getting $100 to win 160 on that. AJ, what's your bet?
I'm going to go Falcons over, Rob. If there's anything we've seen this year, the Falcons can score points. They're playing for their coach's job. This week, if the team wants Dan Quinn, it's 100% guaranteed. My 5-star lock of the week, Falcons over 25. I don't think they give up on him. We watch the sidelines. It looks like the team still likes him. They score points. They got the Bears coming to town. Like, after that loss, there's no way that the Falcons do not score over 25 points.
I wonder what the line we can get on a Trubisky pick 6 is.
Yeah. I like the Texans pick, the Bucks pick. Yeah, I like your picks. I would do the Bucks minus -6, I think.
Yeah, 6 or 7. And that's an interesting parlay, too. You could kind of do the same 3 with a parlay. You get obviously a lot better odds.
Yeah.
You throw 10 on that to make, $80.
Yeah, I would not tease it, and I would go just straight up with those teams against the spread.
Okay. Well, those are our picks of the week. That is the first ever Rockford Report, AJ. I appreciate you joining me.
Oh, I enjoyed it, Rob. Thank you. Go Ducks.
Go Huskies. And hopefully you'll be a frequent contributor to the program. All right, everybody. We'll look forward to the games this weekend. Best of luck to you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.